those of you who've been around for a while probably remember Tom. He usually comes to visit with us a couple times a year. Very generous with his time. Tom had a long and successful career in corporate America, and then kind of struck out on his own to start an interview coaching business. A handful of years ago, we got connected, and he's been a great supporter of this ministry ever since. And so, Tom, welcome back. We really appreciate you being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everybody. I see Krista is putting in the chat my LinkedIn connection. Please connect with me. I will accept all of y'all's connect requests. Who in here has had a recent interview? Anybody had one? Good. Okay. In the room with Jay, the gentleman that raised his hand. Tell me what your name is.
My name is Brett.
Brad. Okay.
Brett. Sorry. Brett, like bar, but Brett.
Okay. Brad, have we met?
We perhaps met in the past, perhaps.
Okay, good. All right. In terms of the recent interview, how is that going? What were the results?
I wasn't selected. However, it was nice. It was my first interview in 7 months, so I've been looking for a minute, and it was kind of good to get the practice out there. Went okay, but not great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to win some, we're going to lose some. I want y'all to remember that. I'll tell y'all a story. Part of my corporate life, I spent several years aligned to the home office at one of my companies that I worked for. Was able to finagle my way to not have to move to Northeast Pennsylvania. Total win. Nothing against it. It was beautiful visiting, but boy, oh boy, sure didn't want to live there. I met someone during that period, just the most marvelous person, very, very effective in her role. Everybody loved her. She was that person that seriously everybody loved. Fast forward to 2024, her ticket came up. Anybody about to predict what I'm about to say? That's right. After 24 years, she got reorged out. Took a package, a year and a half worth of salary. It was a fabulous package. Figured, man, I'll be able to double dip and just crush this. She's still on the sidelines. And she contacts me over the last week and says, help. Get on the phone with her. Now, mind you, she's a marketer. She was a global marketing person, led a billion-dollar brand from a marketing perspective. And I asked her, I don't think she'd mind me sharing her name. I said, Becky, what's your branding statement for you? Crickets. I went, what? She said, bro, I don't have one. I'm like, okay. Can I just ask you a question? Didn't you just tell me you were director global marketing, blah, 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 blah? Yeah. I said, did your product have a branding statement? She said, oh, of course. I said, then why are you treating yourself any differently? I want y'all to start thinking about this idea of you have a product to sell. It is you. You're the job since I met Jay and Scott, what, 2018, coming forward to this moment, we've lived through great times. We've lived through the pandemic, and now we're at the advent of AI, and the job market it's having a hissy fit. It will normalize. It's having a hissy fit, and it will come. So the job market's going to be a crazy ride, and you got to treat this journey like you own a business. It's called you. So continuing with Becky, I said, okay, so how have you been sourcing interviews? Oh, I go to the job boards. I'm like, great, good. What else? I go to the job boards. Becky, wait a minute. Internally, you were one of the best networkers I ever observed at that home office. What in the world? Why are you're not, oh. I said, so let me get this right. You're 100% reliant on the algorithm. Oh, okay. So we talked through, because she spent 24 years of her life at the same company up in the Northeast PA. So her external network, not so much. But really? And I said, so you've got no external network? No. I said, let me ask you this. How many people have you known in 24 years that you trusted that that you still got their phone number and they're now with another company? Oh, I said, bro, you've got an external network. You're just not thinking about it correctly. And I said, all right, so let's think about this strategy. What if you write down the 5 people in the last 5 years of your time there that you trusted the most? And because I used to work there, I know I said, name them. And she, boom, 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 boom. I said, okay, cool. Do you have their phone numbers? I think so. I said, you're holding your phone in your hand, open it up and take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, got them all. Okay, cool. By the end of the day, send them a text. Ask for a cup of coffee, virtually or in person. You want to gain their insights because even though they're working at other companies, they're still your trusted friend. And you can connect with them and get their insights on positions. As we wound through our conversation, I then asked her, I said, so you've had a couple of interviews? Yes, great. And we'll talk about different questions that they're going to ask you. And I said, so what types of questions? And she said they were all behavioral and situational. Okay, good. I said, let me ask you this. What level of preparation did you do? Oh, stopped her, just dead track. And she said, well, I was just responding in the moment. I went, okay, good. Winging it is not a strategy that's going to win. Love you, mean it, it ain't going to win because you're going to go up against someone who will be prepared, who will go in depth with the details, both from similar backgrounds, doing similar roles, similar responsibilities, and because they are connecting with people you're not, you tell me who's going to advance. When you make it into the deeper rounds, folks, they're trying to decide, I mean, they've already decided you can do the job. If you make it into rounds, so if there's, let's say, 4 rounds and you're into round 3 or 4, they've already determined you can do the job. Now they're determining, do they like you? Period. That's it. Are you a fit? That's code for, do I like this person? Can I communicate with this person? They're not there in deeper rounds to debate. Can Jay do the job and can Tom do the job? If they're in rounds 3 and 4, they can do the job. They just happen to like Jay more than they like Tom. That's why they hired him. Jay, you always win in these examples. That's so interesting. So Becky, I asked her then, I said, how did you think of stories? No, I went and I looked and I found the top interview questions. I said, oh, good, congrats. Y'all got to understand, I'm really close with this woman. I said, oh, good, you demonstrated you know how to Google. And she started laughing. She says, "You hadn't changed, have you?" I went, "Nope, I'm still going to coach and I'm going to keep it real." I said, "What did you do? Top 100 questions for whatever company she had interviewed." She went, "Yep." I said, "Did you ask it for marketing?" "Yep." I said, "Did you get a great list of questions?" "Yep." "How did that get you prepared?" "Didn't, because I was a hiring manager and I knew all the questions." "Then why did you spend 1 second of your life doing something that was not going to be productive?" If you own a company of you, get all of the noise out and concentrate on the signal. Straight, period. Let's go to the things that are going to move this process forward. So I'm going to invite y'all to write down the following 4 categories, and I'll bring a graphic up here in a minute. Category number 1, intellectual ability. What I have my clients do is capture stories that they've lived that they're not going to be able to find on Google, that they Google their brain. This is what you're doing. See, I can ask Google the top 100 questions for this or that. I can't ask Google, give me Tom Brown stories. I have to ask Tom Brown. So I have to Google my own brain. Let's give a process. Intellectual ability. Think of stories that demonstrate your intellectual ability. What is that? Critical thinking, strategic thinking, complex problem solving. I was on the phone with an executive coaching client this afternoon. He is very high level, C-suite, and we've determined some of his folks have difficulty having difficult conversations. It's a, it's a real topic. And that is going to take him applying a lot of intellectual capacity into that to get to the bottom of it. So that maybe if he were interviewing for something else, he would use that as a story. So stories that demonstrate your intellectual ability. That's category 1. Category 2 is your stories that demonstrate your responsibility and maturity. What do I mean by that? Impact and influence, sense of duty, doing the right thing, holding people accountable, having difficult conversations. If you have been in the workforce at any level for any amount of time, you have demonstrated your responsibility and maturity. Let's just capture the stories. And we'll get to what are we doing with the stories that we're capturing in a minute. The third category is assertiveness and enthusiasm. Stories that demonstrate your assertiveness and enthusiasm, going above and beyond, willingness to take the extra step. A story that might entail you having the enthusiasm when someone's having a bad day, you step in and you help them rise to the occasion. I never know what the story content entails because I haven't lived your life. It's your lived experience. Final category is interpersonal skills, leadership, teamwork, getting along with people. That's kind of a big one. Maybe that's a story that involves active listening. I mean, if you've been in management at all, if you've been customer facing, if you've been internal facing, if you've been a human being that's got a job in the professional world, you've had to demonstrate active listening. If not, you're that guy. Just saying. Another one in interpersonal skills, I can tell you a competencies that people are looking for, and that's empathy. They want to know, do you have the ability to be able to demonstrate that you can understand through the lens of other people? Intellectual ability, responsibility and maturity, assertiveness and enthusiasm, and interpersonal skills. What are these? You can take those 4 pillars, I call them, take anybody's core competencies. They will all, I don't care if it's Amazon or HCA or Johnson and Johnson or fill in the blank. Their core competencies will fit somewhere on those 4 pillars. Obviously, there'll be a lot of concentric circles connecting because they're all interconnected. We don't know the questions that they're going to ask, but they give us clues, starting number one with their core competencies. So if you're interviewing with Amazon, you are required to understand their LPs, their leadership principles. Trust me, if you don't, that interview is over. J&J, their credo. Everything, every interview question through their entire processes at J&J ultimately come back and touch the credo. That's controlling document number one. Document number two is the job description itself. So you can take a combination of the core competencies and the job description and drive yourself crazy for a week trying to figure out the question. Or you can spend a few hours going to the subject matter expert of you, yourself, apply or tap into those four categories and write out 2 stories for each one of those pillars. Get it out of your brain, through your fingers, to the computer, onto the keyboard, into a Word document. I am not asking you to create a script that you're going to memorize unless you're a freaking unicorn. If you're capable of being authentic and memorizing a script, good for you. No. What this does by thinking, typing, visualizing it, it builds muscle memory so that when they ask a relevant question, your brain goes, oh, I've got this story. There you go. As opposed to someone who's winging it, ABC question mark, their brain is going to deliver them a story. There's no doubt about it. But they're panicking because they don't remember the details. You, because you with purpose and intention, well in advance of any interview, have prepared by writing out these stories, reliving them, feeling, touching, smelling exactly what it was like in that moment, you'll be able to tell a much more persuasive answer. Details matter. Let's see if I can successfully navigate this. Yay, winning. Okay. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I do want to back up. We'll get to where we were. Please bear 3 bedrock principles in mind. Job interview equals number one, it is a conversation. Folks, if you turn yourself into a robot who learned how to interview, okay, thank you, lovely, you're going to lose. Number two, you're selling the greatest thing you'll ever have, and that is your God-given talent. God gave you certain talents that He didn't give me, that He didn't give Jay, didn't give Scott, didn't give Mike, so forth and so on. We all have our individual, unique talents. That's what you're there to sell. Are you going to sell your experience? Sure. Talent trumps experience. Just saying. I've got friends of mine that are NFL coaches with 3 Super Bowl rings. Talent trumps everything when it comes to making those decisions. Number 3, you're going to learn something from each interview. At some point, you're going to get the nod, yes, great. That's one outcome. The other outcome is the opposite of that. Nah, hey, we're going with somebody else. They're not going to give you any information. They're going to ghost you. You're going to get 0 feedback unless your brother-in-law or sister-in-law works there. Or you have just met a unicorn that's taking interest in you. Reason being, they don't want to get sued. I don't blame them. So you've got to learn something from each one. If we have any former military, of which I'm not, but I do support Operation Stand Down here in town. They bring me in, shameless plug, they bring me in and we run a workshop with them. They do, if you're in the military, you do after action. If you're in corporate America, you do concurrent critiquing, ad hoc, and then post-event critiquing. All the same thing. You're capturing your learnings, what went well, what went wrong, what would you do differently, da, 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 da. I don't look at it like that. I just say, what did you learn? So it's a conversation, you're selling your talent, and nothing bad can happen. Because if you get it, great. If you don't, you're still learning and growing. Okay? We've just turned it into a game. Please remember that. We'll come back to the questions. I do want to spend a moment here. They want to know the details. If you don't give me details, whoops, sorry about that. Did the slides just go away? Okay, good.
No, yeah.
All right, cool. That was just me. Hang on one second. Okay. Well, that's fun. I have no idea where the slides are in my world over here. Okay. So details matter. Comparing someone who's winging it to someone who has the details. Winging it, you'll tell a story. You'll give them an answer. If you are prepared, you will give a story that you're able to give them an unbelievable amount of detail, and they are not bored. You're not wasting their time. You're not having extraneous words. Therefore, don't worry about the clock, because I have people say, how long is too long of a answer? Until I get bored. If I'm the interviewer, you bore me, it's too long. That could be in 10 seconds. As a candidate, you got to watch their body language for real. You got to watch the body language. All right, let's see if I can. Okay, here we go. So they want the detail. I want you to give specific details. Okay. I want you to talk in first person when it's appropriate. It's the rare yard pass that we as adults get to talk about ourselves. For example, I am describing, I'm giving an answer to tell me a time when you and your team achieved something. I was responsible for 14 direct reports who had about 10 direct reports of their own. We as a leadership team were faced with this decision. So we had to make the best decision to serve this entire region. I got the team together and we discussed it. See how I'm bouncing between I and we, and the we part is probably here and the I part is down here. And that's appropriate. If you never talk about yourself, nobody's coming behind you to tell them what you said. You've got to own what you've done. You've got to talk in first person, please. Descriptive detail is the magic. It's a key that unlocks so many interviews. Because we get so nervous and we've got stories and we get all prepared and they start asking us. And next thing I did in this story was this, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this. And the interview is going like, dear God, dude, kill me. You're not connecting with me. If you, however, tell the exact same story with a few adjectives and a few adverbs, you can bring that story to life through description. I call it descriptive detail. When you use descriptive detail, folks, now you're connecting with me emotionally. And even though we're getting closer and closer by the second, the robots still are not making the final decision. Humans are. Humans are emotional. Period. This is a selling situation. They have a problem. You're offering a solution. They're either going to buy it or they don't. If they hire you, they bought you as the solution. I can promise you, you connected with that panel, that person, that group of people that you spoke with. You connected with them sufficiently on an emotional level. Details matter. Here are our four categories. They come back: intellectual ability, responsibility and maturity, assertiveness and enthusiasm, and then finally interpersonal skills. And Jay puts these slides available. They're trademarked and they're copyrighted by my copywriter, and you'll see him down there on the floor. He is sleeping on the job. He's also my legal dog, and he'll come after you if you do anything nefarious with this. My dog is 13 years old. He loves sitting up here because he gets a nap. What I ask people to do is identify two stories for each one of these. Step one, take it left to right. So start with intellectual ability. So if you're out jogging, walking in the gym, doing yoga, just being quiet, start with intellectual ability. Say, what are relevant stories that I have that will demonstrate my intellectual ability? Well, there was that time with Jay where he and I were really stuck on a problem, and it was a big one. Okay. Headline: two birds stuck in a nest. Okay. I'm never going to share that with the interviewer, but boy, oh boy, my brain is going to remember two birds stuck in a nest. And then I'm going to write out the story in star format. Let me ask this question this way. Is anyone unfamiliar with the acronym STAR in relation to interviews? If so, turn your mic on, turn your camera on, and let's please identify and let's talk this through. 3, 2, 1.
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, great. Here we go. So, Star is a interview platform, Al, that companies, they'll either outright use a literally Star registered platform, um, or they'll use variants of it, or they won't use a Star format and they still are using it. They just don't know it. So they will ask you a question. Al, tell me a time when you and a team member had to solve a complex problem. Boom. Two birds stuck in a nest. So you write the headline and then you type out what was the situation. Jay and I were working, in the summer of 25, Jay and I were working on this project. We had a quick turnaround and we were behind the gun because we were dealing with an absolute bird's nest. Next thing, the purists will use the T, which stands for task. I don't like that. That's combing your hair, putting your glasses on, brushing your teeth. I want you to, as you're writing this out, give what was your role and your responsibility in the situation, not your job title. So for this project, I was the lead. Jay was running point with external team members, and everybody reported back to me. So the onus was on me. I had the responsibility of getting this tight turnaround done. Now we're just easing into the action. And this, my friends, is where the magic happens. Now you're complete storytelling. And this is where I want you to get descriptive. Jay and I had this problem, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We had conflicting data from an internal set to an external set. Our marketing department was giving us something on different axis that made no sense, that in some respects were negating and invalidating both internal and external. So we knew we had a problem. We decided to divide and conquer. I went and talked to these people. Jay went and talked to these people. I walked into Scott's office. Scott, normally unflappable, even keeled, hand on the rudder, nothing bothers him. I walked in, saw him and knew Scott was not having a good day. See the description that I just went to? Just a few words. So the first thing I did, see, now I'm really talking about that action piece. First thing I did is, Scott, I know we have a meeting. Is this still a good time? I didn't ask God, you having a bad day, da 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 da. Is this still a good time? I acknowledged that something was going on. You get the point, and you tell the steps of that entire story. And then the R part of STAR is for the results of all of this. So in the end, because Scott had given me that information, I was then able to take it to Jay, who went to 3 external vendors way deep in the bowels of XYZ's IT department, and we found the woman that we needed. She was brilliant. She brought all of the answers forward, and it solved the entire riddle, and we were able to meet the objective of that tight turnaround. STAR. So Al, is that clear at this point?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. And hopefully y'all can see how this lends itself to storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Because in an interview, you're telling the story of, frankly, why they should hire you. Think about it. Okay. So if we go back to our pillars here, I identify 2 birds in a nest, and I bullet point. I don't care. I mean, my clients will say, Tom, do you want it bullet point? Do you want it lost? I don't care if it's bullet point or you write War and Peace. The point is for you with purpose and intention to get this out of your brain into a document such that you'll be able to remember the relevant parts. And then your brain will just deliver because you can create muscle memory with this. 2 stories. So it'd be category 1, intellectual ability, story 1, 2 birds in a nest, STAR, the relevant points for that. Story number 2, 2 dogs on a bone. And then STAR and whatever verbiage I want to write. And then we move to responsibility and maturity. That process repeats. There's a secret I want to share with you. You will have 8, if you write out 2 for each category, obviously demonstrating I went to, math class in North Louisiana, you'll have 8 stories, 2 for each one. But the truth of the matter is you have a lot more because each one of those stories, look at it like a book with chapters. So there's stories within the stories. See, I can lift out of the 2 birds in a nest, the story about Scott. And, when I walked into Scott, let's say they asked me, tell me a time when you had to have a challenging conversation with somebody higher in the organization than you. Great. Love that question because my man, Scott, normally I walk into Scott, cool, calm, collected, tiller, hand, steady boat. Something had rocked his boat. I was the recipient of a little known attribute that Scott has called ire, IRE. He was not having a good day. He unloaded on me for no apparent reason. I had to have an immediate difficult conversation because Scott's 2 levels up. We trust each other. We can speak candidly to one another, and then had that difficult conversation. So I've got 2 birds in a nest. And I can pull out various pieces to tell a standalone story. I don't repeat the whole 2 birds in a nest story. So you've got stories within stories. Here's another secret. You write out stories 1 through 8. You're not prioritizing them. You're categorizing them. We're not negating stories 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so on. We're not also at the same time writing those down. However, because you now understand a process, your brain, if you have to use story number 12, because it's the one that makes the most sense, it's not winging it, I contend, because you have a process. Your brain will deliver story number 12 to you readily. This is the level of preparation in today's market. You've got to. You don't want to be like Becky. Becky had a real wake-up call with her buddy Tom today. Um, I mean, she was darn near in tears. She was so thankful that we talked. Okay. I want to touch briefly. I know I'm running out of time. Y'all, I love doing this. I should have told y'all this at the beginning. Anybody has a question, please stop me. I will keep going because I get energy out of doing it. You have a question, come off mic and ask. Just stop me right where I am. Tell me about yourself. Anybody ever gotten this question? Sure, you have. Okay. There are many different forms of this. Straight up, tell me about yourself. Another version, hey, what are your key traits? Uh, and let me see if I can move our screen. Of course not. Okay, now I'm back to that. The other thing is they may ask. Uh, hold on a second. Your boy is Zoom challenged. I do apologize. I have no problem throwing myself under the bus. Okay. All right. So the other thing that you will see questions is maybe it'd be why should I consider you? That's pretty straightforward. Why should I hire you? What do you have that others don't? What makes you unique? See, I went from your best buddy, tell me about yourself, to, you know, little less your buddy. Hey, what are your key traits? All the way down to, Mr. or Miss Blankety Blank. Bro, tell me why I should hire you. Don't waste my time. How would you like that to be the opening question in an interview?
Hey, Tom, I have a question.
Please go.
I have about 24 years of experience in IT, and I'm applying for manager positions like project manager, product manager,
Hmm.
solutions manager, delivery manager. But maybe I should be applying for director roles or VP roles. But the problem with that is that those are few and far between.
Hmm.
And people who are seeking those tend to stay unemployed for a longer
Hmm.
bit of time than someone because there's more manager roles open and advertised than there are those higher level, director VP roles. So,
Hmm.
but I have 24 years of experience and I've been out of work for a few months. But I
Okay.
feel as if when I'm going on these interviews for these manager roles, I'm interviewing with people that are younger than me, have less experience than me, less credentials than me, have a master's degree, 24 years of experience. They might be hiring and they may have like 10 years or something or 12 years, whatever. And I feel as if they're intimidated by my
Yep,
experience
they are.
and they may think that, oh, they may use an excuse and say, oh, we don't want to hire Mike. He's overqualified. But the fact is, they're just intimidated and they think I may want to steal their thunder or
Yep.
not be easy to get along with because I'll have my own opinion and my own insights and I'll know
Yep.
better than them. And so they don't want to deal with that. They want to deal with some young, fresh, someone that they can manage and control and tell what to do and stuff like that. And so I feel like that's why I'm not getting hired. Like I've been on interviews and then I don't hear back.
Okay.
Um,
You
so
you
I love
have
your feedback.
this is a great question. Um, let's break it down because you've raised several issues inside of here. I also am going to bet you that people have said, Mike, you're overqualified. This job, you're going to be making significantly less. Well, bro, the reality is right now I'm making zero or severance. So you pay me $1, I'm good. Okay. Am I overqualified? Probably, but I haven't worked at your company. I'd like the opportunity to come in, reinvent myself here, and I'll grow from there. let's address the intimidation because I think that happens. This is where it all comes to connecting. So if you're interviewing Al, you're right there in my vision. So if I'm interviewing with Al and I'm Mike and Al goes, dude, you're way overqualified. I'm picking up, he's intimidated. Al, let me give you some comfort. My skill sets meet this role. I want to grow with this company. I want to grow with this company. I want to develop with this company. I am always going to be a supporter of you. Just rip the Band-Aid, find the appropriate game time insertion of the word to put Al at ease that, I'm not going to come in here and cut your knees out from under you. I'm not going to make you look bad. I'm going to make you look great. You got to find the right words for all of that. Mike, the other sad reality, I don't know, I'm taking a stab in the dark. If you're 24 years of industry experience, means you're somewhere in your 45 to 50 range-ish, okay? Um, they they look at you and go, man, we can hire two of him for half of him. Or they say, little old. They look at me and they go, Papa, what are you doing here? Okay. I will tell you, let's address the ageism. While it is alive and doing well, and you will see it, Mike, exactly what you're describing. Those people that are intimidated by your age, your experience, your accomplishments, your proficiencies, your professionalism, your executive presence, they're absolutely blown away by that, and they'll hire two people younger for half the price. That's ageism in a lot of ways, combined with that intimidation factor. However, in the last couple of years, that worm is turning for all the people who may or may not have played a hand of poker in your life. That worm has started to turn in the last couple of years because companies, being idiotic, hoisted out a bunch of institutional knowledge, hoisted out a bunch of seasoned, tenured veterans that have innate talent that they ain't getting in the kids, these youngsters coming along. Because most youngsters and older people don't score very well on emotional intelligence. Older people, perhaps a little better. So those of us that, my blonde hair now has a different color. If somebody called me up saying, "Hey, I want you to come interview for this position," and it was something that I liked, and Denise knew that I could be out of the house for a couple of times a month, she'd be in support of it. But I would not blink at all. I would have no compunction going in there at 68 plus years old and going toe to toe with anybody because talent trumps everything. Just saying. Mike, please connect with me on LinkedIn. One of the things, you connect with me. I'm happy to, have a phone call with you. I do offer a complimentary service once for a 30-minute phone call. And
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. Do you
yeah.
think you could just give 3 tips on avoiding the intimidation on interviews when you're interviewing with people that are younger than you, and also to be more like them? I know I'm not abrasive. I even send a thank you letter after the interview is done. I smile. What can
Good.
I do to be viewed as being less intimidating, more likable, someone who they want to work with?
I'm going to give you a bonus answer before I answer your question because I don't want to forget this. In your case, networking, networking, networking. period. If y'all are relying on job boards, no bueno. Use the job boards to identify the jobs, go to your network, make connections, to have conversations, to fill up your interview pipeline. You've got to fill that funnel. Be descriptive, Mike. Give them answers that say, listen, we have both worked on projects like this. Let's discuss. You're asking about this aspect. Let me tell you a story that I think you're going to identify with. Find words to connect with them. All right. Mike, I did want to, so I'm going to give you a couple more, but I wanted to ask you a question. The questions that you're getting, what percentage of them start and or sound something like this? Mike, I'd like your thoughts on X topic. What percentage of the questions are you getting that would sound similar to that?
I'd like your thought, a zero.
Interesting. So the questions are all, tell me a time when,
Yeah, mostly.
okay? Or when you have faced a situation like this, what did you do?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
more like that than just like open-ended, like tell me or give me your thoughts on project management, on a large project. They
Okay.
don't really ask that
All right.
for the most part.
I want every one of y'all to be aware of that type of question though. Even though Mike hasn't experienced them, I can promise you, you all will. These, I don't know what the textbooks would call it. Your boy here calls it a philosophical question. Mike, I'd like you to give me your thoughts on fill in the blank. So what I'm asking is, what is your thinking? What is your philosophy? The way you answer that is straightforward. Part one, my thoughts on system architecture is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Bold, clear, declarative. Pause and say, let me give you an example, and then support it with a brief example. If you don't go to that example and you only say, my thinking is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, um, an unskilled or less skilled interviewer will say, well, that sounds great. Give me an example. A great interviewer will go, okay, pause, and it will be the most uncomfortable 2 to 3 seconds of your life because they're not going to prompt you for an example. And you go, oh, wait a minute, let me give you an example. Or you don't. And they'll say, okay, good, let's move on. X. Another thing, Mike, that I think if you use descriptive language enough to put that story in Technicolor and connect with them. It's all about connecting, particularly someone that's got your level of number of tenured years experience and what you're describing as, potentially VP qualified. That's why I wanted to highlight the networking. Most of the VP, director, VP, EVP, on into the C-suite, believe it or not, a significant percentage of those are referrals. And in the case of C-suites, uh, a, a, uh, a curated search of some sort. But even with that, Mike, I don't know if you're in the healthcare industry here in town or what. For those of you that are, it's a small industry, big business, small industry right here in town. Mike, does that give you some things to think about?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I was just
Cool.
looking for like a good tip on how to be more likable in the interview.
Well, you're smiling. You're not your voice sounds pleasant. You sound like you're a very authentic person. Great. Okay. Um, Descriptive language and ask them what's important to them. Just
Hmm.
saying.
Okay.
One other brief story. I can't believe the hour's already gone. Have a client, and he is a very visual person, and he put together a brief set of visual infographics or what have you on himself. And he's being interviewed by, Jean-Claude whoever in France. And he says to Jean-Claude whatever, it was an internal interview. He says, Jean-Claude, you know a lot about me. There are some things that I want to highlight. I've got a visual. Would you prefer that I explain that verbally, visually, or a combination of both? And his question to Jean-Claude was, what is the way you learn best? Oh, that's a beautiful question. And Jean-Claude said, Sean, if you would, please share it. Put your information up there. Great. And he had it. And Jean-Claude was asking all kind of questions. They never got away from that visual. The whole interview revolved around there, and that was the strategy. So, Mike, that may be something to think about. Other questions?
Tom, I have a
I
question.
don't get the, is it on?
Can you
I
hear me?
can, I got you.
All right, perfect. So, I've applied for a position and received an email today about a software called HireVue, which is
Yes,
kind of a video kind of screening.
yes.
I've never done that before, but it doesn't give me a warm fuzzy, And just wondering if you have any tips or anyone else.
Yes, 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 yes.
What to
See this? This is an iPhone. There's my buddy. Isn't he cute? Okay. I'm looking at the screen of my MacBook. Very important. So if I'm doing HireVue, for those that don't know, HireVue is a it's a platform where the company that is contracted with them will say, here's a list of questions for this job, rotate them around, and the algorithm does all of this. Okay. And it'll send a link. Congratulations, you have moved forward in the process. Hint, hint, a human has not looked at your stuff at that point, by the way, folks. For real, unless you were referred and networked in. If you applied on the interwebs and you get this thing from HireVue or HireRight, whoever, no humans have seen your stuff other than you. Just throw that in the back of the brain. So they say, congratulations, you've moved forward, and this is the most important interview because it's the next one. And maybe it'll be 4 or 5 questions. Some of them say, hey, you can have a practice round. Great, take advantage of the practice round. Some of them will say, hey, if you need to re-record, feel free. Now, some will say, if you need to re-record, you may re-record up to X, 2, whatever. Understand, if you re-record anything, all of that's being tracked because it's all a computer, right? So, first tip with that, when you get home or as we get off, go to Zoom, start a meeting, and you're going to be the only person on the meeting. I want you to set your screen. Can y'all see my background?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Everything that's in this picture is intentional. And, I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller, but for tonight's purposes, I've got everything back shrunk down. I personally am not a fan of the goofy waving palm trees with the green screen or any of that stuff, right? I want it to be as authentically possible as it can be in 2D, right? Now, if I need to move my screen around because I want to put myself here, I want to be bracketed on either side of this. Great. Then I know I'm buying this door in here. So I better make sure that door is shut. I don't really like the door. So I want to come here. Okay. Well, I can still get me in between those two to some degree. Now, I want to show y'all this. So manage your set. I've got a ring light. See if y'all can see. Woo, see, that's a ring light. Because I know I have snow white hair and, I look like a TV anchor and all of that. But I mean, all of those things are up for inspection with HireVue, HireRight, and our live interviews. My MacBook has a green light. See, y'all can see I'm pointing right at it. That is your eyes. That green light equals your eyes. So Al, there you are. You're still there, my man, first in my heart. Al is directly under my green light. So if I'm looking, y'all just watch the subtle difference. Probably easier at home to see. So I'm talking to Al. Al, hey, yo, bro, how's the day going? Everything good? Good, good. I'm looking at Al. I'm not looking here. It comes across for the interviewer if I'm interviewing with Al and I'm looking at his picture, Al will subconsciously or consciously say, he never looked at me in the eye. Al's eyes equal that green light. Even if you do that, Al, I'm still not, I've got to look. It's so crazy. Practice, practice, practice. So when you get, by the way, the technical term for the HireVue, HireRight, it's called an asynchronous video, one-way video interview. Okay, little fun fact. You want to practice, you can practice in advance. Okay, get a hold of somebody at the church, somebody through the ministry. Um, you know, I mean, sure, it'd be great if you could get some interview practice. At the very baseline, least thing to do is practice into that camera. Don't freak out when you have to re-record something. If your answers are good, I don't think the re-recording is going to hurt you unless you're re-recording every single thing. That may get it flagged. If they give you a practice round, that's not going to get flagged. And if it does, you didn't want to work there anyway. Just saying. So the biggest thing with those video interviews is to practice said video interview. Do not do it with your iPhone. You can use your iPhone or Android to practice. I have my clients send me videos all the time. And I mean, I have people for example, funniest thing, was in surgical sales and, you know, he had a very busy schedule and he would walk out of surgery, open up his iPhone. There was a text from his buddy, Tom. Boom, I'm getting his answers as he's walking down the hallway. And I told him that's cool because I know you don't have time. If you really want to play like you practice, you want to practice into the camera where you're going to be interviewing. That's the best way to do it because you're either going to be interviewing people virtually or in person. This is as close to in person as you can get.
So you got to practice looking into the camera.
Absolutely.
But then if you have notes that you want to refer to, look at they ask you a star question, tell me about a time.
Yeah,
you got the reference material on another screen. Like you got your laptop screen and you have a monitor right next to your laptop and you got the information about the star story there, then you're not looking into the camera.
Yeah. So you grab. So, all right, first of all, we never read the stories. Okay. You can have it on. I don't have two monitors. It freaks me out because I don't know how they work. I barely know how to turn this computer on, but I know what they are. So if you got your star stories over here off to the right on another monitor, they ask you a question. Mike, tell me a time when blah, 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 and you just glance over. That's why we write the headlines and go, ooh, two birds in a nest. That'll work. So I just glance, and it's okay because think about it. If you're in the conference room with them, and you're having a live conversation, you're going to go, mm-hmm, okay, here's your answer. Same thing. The biggest thing to think about with that for those that have the screen with the notes on it, which is fair game, just don't turn your head and never come back. You can have sticky notes all around. I have a C-suite client that he filled up an entire wall behind the screen. What they were seeing is a guy sitting at a $40,000 desk. You know, high back red leather chair, beautiful, whatever type of wood. Good Lord, it looked like it was in the Oval Office. Behind it, he had all of his crib notes condensed down and letters written this big on whiteboards. Okay. Fair game. Because I can sit there and say, yeah, that works. And I can make it all look natural. So long as I have practiced it. That's a great point, Mike. Don't let your eyes go over to the side screen and never come back. You will lose that connection with them visually. It's over. Next question.
So do they review the videos later, or is it AI reviewed? Or,
First pass at it is AI, generally second pass. So if I send in my results, boom, the AI reads it instantaneously. Okay. If there's certain things that it likes that has been programmed into it, it will then send the file either to a human or a bigger AI. Okay. Um, and they've gotten the facial stuff. I mean, they're analyzing not only what's spoken, but you can tell if somebody is having a little Bravo Sierra in an answer because their face is going to give them away. AI's looking at that too. Just saying. If it passes that, so let's say it's AI, then the next thing that's going to touch it will be a human being. And then they will decide, because AI is saying, Al is recommended to move forward. Human might take a look at the videos. If Al was referred in, I can promise you, human will take a look at the video because Al was referred in by his friend Mike, who works at the company. Just saying. We got to get connected to people, not the machines. So then that person says, yes, I want to bring Al in. And HR sets that up. And then now Al moves on to the most important interview, which is the next one. If other questions?
For those of you who are, I have a friend who she can't get past these AI things because she's hard of hearing, she's deaf, and you can ask sometimes for an accommodation, so you don't have to go through that. So if you have an issue with like nervousness, whatever, can't hear very well, you can get an accommodation from this. I just want to put that.
and actually, you had mentioned the referral. I know a couple people in my LinkedIn that work at this company. One of them, though, her last day was Friday because her husband's moving to California, so that's not going to work. But reached out to the other guy, but I don't know how quickly that will come. But hopefully that will help. But the other thing is, what types of questions do these typically? I mean, are they pretty in depth? I mean, is this like a star type of question?
Yeah, the higher right, they're generally going to be behavioral or situational. Tell me a time when, da 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 da. They may get them to be an open question. How do you, let's say someone is in sales, how do you prioritize your day? Okay, that's an interesting question. Um, so they've gotten so much better in the last 5 years. And I mean, it's just like anything connected to AI, it rocked along and then all of a sudden the curve is seriously straight up. Um, don't freak out, folks. Your AI can have a human or a humanoid sitting in that interview room with you. Hi, my name is Tom. So nice to meet you. We're going to ask a few questions today. I'll be recording your answers. Relax. If you want to take a practice round, I'm happy to do that for you. Let's begin. And it's a frickin' avatar of Tom that, looks like a human being. Don't be shocked at that. That's interesting. A couple of closing thoughts here. You're running your business. It's called you. If you're in transition, that's code for laid off, in between jobs. This is your full-time job. If you're still working full-time and you're thinking of transition, now you have two full-time jobs, your day job and interview job. Treat it like a business. You are selling the greatest thing you'll ever have. That's your God-given talent. You are going to have conversations. You can turn this into a game by giving yourself permission to know it's okay. It's either going to go my way or it's not. Regardless of the outcome, I am going to learn something and I'm going to get better. If I get hired, I'm going to learn what it takes to be successful in that company. I'm going to give it my best shot. If I don't get hired, I'm going to step back, be brutally honest with myself. I'm not asking what did I screwed up, what did I did well. I'm asking what did I learn. You can turn this into a game. I know this is not an easy journey. I've been in your shoes once when my son was in between middle school and high school, and then for grins and giggles, once the year he graduated from high school. We made it through. We made it through. It's not easy. God's got a plan for you. We just have to be comfortable and say, you take the wheel, bro. I'll come along for the ride. That comes with some responsibilities. Connections lead to conversations, lead to filling up your interview funnel. That's a responsibility you have. Having those connections, having those conversations do lead to those interviews. It's your responsibility to get prepared better than every other candidate. You are the subject matter of expert of you. Nobody knows you better than you. It is your responsibility to engagingly, persuasively, energetic at the right time, soft-spoken at the right time. Go persuasively sell your argument. And please, for the love of God, in the interview, don't forget to ask for the business because you're there to sell. I will close with this. When they say, hey, what questions do you have for us? Don't ask stupid questions. Hey, what's your management style? Oh, Beer Fridays on Thursdays, cotton candies on Tuesdays, puppy dogs on Wednesdays. And I'm not a micromanager. Well, bro, I need a micromanager in the beginning. I don't drink beer. I'll take a cup of coffee. I love dogs. Can I bring my dog to work? So if you ask a silly question, they're going to give you a non-answer. Ask great questions. What do you love most about leading a team? Oh, another silly question. Hey, what's your culture? Oh, it's great. We have Beer Fridays on Thursdays. We have cotton candy on Tuesday and puppy dogs on Wednesday. You get a non-answer. Ask them this question. What have you and your team done to create the culture, and what do you aspire for it to become? What have you done to build your current culture, and what do you and your team aspire for it to become? Folks, you're asking them a gap and a SWOT analysis about their culture in one easy question. and you're avoiding the silly one that's going to get a non-answer. That is your responsibility to think of great questions. All of this can be done. It takes patience. It takes understanding that the job board's not going to be any different at 10 o'clock in the morning than it was at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's not going to be any different tomorrow morning. So why are we spending 2 hours a day on a job board? I'd rather you spend 2 hours a day networking and then spend the rest of the day working out, walking, stuff like that. Let's not waste our time with unproductive stuff. That is your responsibility. God's got a plan. We got to play our part. Jay, Scott, sorry I rambled on and kept everybody. I'll throw it out there one last time. Your boy's still awake here. Anybody got any remaining questions?
No, this has been great. I
Good,
got a lot out of it.
good, 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 good.
I have
Yes, ma'am.
oh, I had an interview at this for this job, but it ended up kind of being totally different. I'm really looking for like corporate finance, and it ended up being personal finance.
Okay.
And so they're saying, oh, it could be a fit. I could meet with them again, but I really don't know a lot about taxes. It's like, running scenarios of people have their own business and they're making $500,000 plus a year, and they want to do this or that with their business, and you got to give them the answers. So you got to know about partnerships and S corps, and I just really don't have that. That's not really anything that
Christy, are you an accountant by trade?
But
What, what?
I have a CPA, but I didn't go into tax. So.
Okay. Don't enter into a job that you don't have in, that this is not my wheelhouse. You're setting yourself up for failure. Okay, it's lovely that somebody likes you and they're trying to find a way to make you fit, a fit for you. But if it's something that is not your wheelhouse, don't set yourself up for failure.
Well, I don't have I'm still looking for a job, but I think it's better to just get some kind of job at Costco until you can find a better fit for you than just to do something else.
Preach, girlfriend, yes. Yes, because you can explain away any gap. Any gaps in a resume 10 years ago was like, oh my God, forget about that. Okay. There's work gaps all the time. Work gap can be explained. I would rather you, as you said, go to work at Costco, do something that's going to bring some money in. Moreover, going to give you some purpose. Human beings like purpose. It also gives you some dignity. Human beings are worthy of dignity. Don't put yourself into a job just because it's available. Because if it's not a good fit, you're going to be miserable. It's not going to go well. That's Tom's personal opinion.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Jay, Scott, as always, thank you. This is always so much fun for me. If you have not already, please send me a connect request on LinkedIn. Like us, love us, hug us on the rest of the interwebs. We're on Facebook, etc. Okay. I'm available. You can find my contact info through Jay. Krista does a great job with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with this. God does have a plan. Let's go play our responsibility and do what He is asking us to do. Because at the end of the day, we are really doing His will. We got to know that He's got our back and just calm down. It's going to be okay. I promise you. All right. Jay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tom. This is great, as always. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
See everybody back here next week.
Y'all have a good evening. Stay warm, folks. See ya.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.